Hi ladies and gentlemen, it's still March 2nd, 2017, but I felt like I needed to make this video today. With all that's going on, all of a sudden we don't hear anything about what happened on 9/11, other than that we want to blame Islamic terrorism for it. We don't even want to point out the fact, apparently, that a lot of these guys were from Saudi Arabia. We don't want to point out that, we've forgotten that there were questions about that, the 28 pages, for instance, or so much more. And I'm not going to go into all that here. What I'm concerned about is the fact that it was a cover-up. It was a treasonous, criminal murder of Americans that was predicted, basically, by the PNAC, the Project for a New American Century, by Cheney, Wolfowitz, Pearl, all those guys, saying we needed another Pearl Harbor to justify us getting into a major war. And, of course, to attack the Constitution. No one is talking about that anymore. Yeah, the country needs to be unified, but we cannot forget the fact, the 9/11 victims, all of those people that lost their lives because upper echelons of this government, our intelligence agencies and other intelligence agencies, Cheney particularly, Rumsfeld, Elliott Abrams, a lot of those guys, even Steve Pieczenik has talked about this, were involved in that and helped to cover it up. We're not hearing enough about that right now because I know there's just so much on the table. But it's time for me to bring it up. Why? Well, as you know, Carol died in 2008. In 2001, on 9/11, she called me very upset. I had already found out about it, about the problem there in the Twin Towers and at the Pentagon, all of that. And she felt so upset because she was from New York originally, but just because, of all those innocent people. And at that time, of course, she didn't know that this thing was an inside job. And even I didn't. I'm not going to go into all the details on that. It wasn't until actually I got overseas after being activated after 9/11 that I discovered some of that. But at any rate, why do I bring her up? Because she was a Democrat. But she wasn't the autocratic, tyrannical Democrat that the Democrats have become. That if you don't accept what they tell you, they want to harm you. They want to take away your First Amendment. They want to attack you. That's what we have now. She was not one of those. She was a real liberal. She believed in honesty, integrity, in the Constitution. As a matter of fact, she was very upset about the TSA thing. Just before she died in 2008, she was having to get on a plane a lot to go to get her treatments in California and in Oklahoma. And the treatment that she received by the TSA was disgusting, and it was demoralizing. It was insulting. So we're very, very aware of that whole problem. So we get attacked on 9/11, and we're supposedly out there to protect our liberties, but in fact, it wasn't the Islamic people that took our liberties from us. It was our government that did that for spurious causes and reasons. And I think most of the people that listen to my channel know that. But again, why do I bring up Carol? She was a Democrat, like I said, and she had me read a book, and this is really what I wanted to bring out, because this shows how we've forgotten. She was, I wouldn't want to say a fan of Senator Al Franken's, and he wasn't a senator at the time, but he had written a book called Liars and the Lying Liars That Tell Them. Some of you may have read that book. If you haven't, I suggest you do. Now, he's a United States Senator now. And I want you to look at the link in the description box below. Now, it's only one. Okay, I just grabbed the first one that was in Google when I went to look this up. I actually have the book, but not with me at this point in time, or I'd show it to you. But the link below will show you what I'm getting at. Okay, and you can check this out. There are tons of these things on the internet about this. Al Franken said that he had been called up prior to the attacks and told not to report to work on 9/11. And yet today, he has the gall to sit there in Congress, in the Senate, and attack President Trump and the people that are trying to right this ship from capsizing. Al Franken either lied in 2002 when he wrote that book, whenever it was, or he's lying today, helping to cover up by omission, lying what happened, or he's part of the conspiracy now because he's with the elite. In any of those scenarios, he's wicked and he's evil. So, I wanted to bring up 9/11 again today because we have these breast-beating, liberal, autocratic tyrants in there, and we've unfortunately been veered. You know, that's why they do this. They throw so much at you that you can't really look in the depths of what they're doing and try to stop them on that level. Before you can finish investigating that, they start something else. They constantly move this thing so that you never get to the bottom of what's really happening. Al Franken admitted before the attacks occurred, he received a warning not to go to work in New York at the trade centers, I do believe. So we have Pelosi, right? All this information they throw at us. Nancy Pelosi, and throwing all this at us all the time. But she calls President Trump the deflector in chief. Remember, sociopaths accuse others of what they themselves do. Not necessarily using any kind of evidence either. It's just a way to get your mind off of what they don't want you to see. Whether it's government conspiracies, corruption, crimes, treason, whether it's pedophilia in the upper echelons of government and the elite, whether it's, Clinton receiving millions of dollars from the Chinese and the Russians for the Uranium One deal, which is what the whole thing in Oregon was about, and Harry Reid's little deal there in Nevada, and the Red River in Texas, etc., etc., etc. They don't want you to look into all that. They want you to keep jumping around, not sure what else is going to come at you. So let's go back to 9/11. Let's go back to 9/11. And Senator Franken, I'm calling you out. How come you've left this slip? You've just let it slip and hidden it under a avalanche of other information to bury. And you're not an American. By your fruits you will know them, and your fruits are rotten to the core. Go look it up, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see what I'm talking about. Out here.